we're going to look at now is how to actually remove a tyre from a rim. Again, if you're new to cycling, this is something that can be quite daunting, but actually doesn't need to be. It's really straightforward, it's really simple, it's worth practicing so that when you do have a puncture, you're able to do it without worrying. But it's great. There are just a few key things that you need to remember. So if you've got a puncture, the air will have come out of your tyre anyway, but if not, let down the air. And you do that by pressing in the centre of the valve and just roll it like that. And then the first thing you need to do is break the seal. The tyre sits into the rim and it's pushed in by pressure of air, and it can get stuck over time. So the first thing you need to do is just push in like that. If I bring it round, and just push it in like that to break that seal. Whenever you're working on a wheel, always start at the valve so that you know when you've started and when you've finished. So then keep going round. Can you see it's just pushing it away? You hear that noise? So that's it. So just make sure the seal is broken all the way around. Then the first thing we do is we start at the opposite side to the valve. This is actually just far easier. There's less pressure up there, there's less in the way. We always use 3 tyre levers. These are the Park Tool ones that I really like. They come together in a set. They've got a nice lip. When you look at the construction of a wheel, you've got spokes on one side that are closest to you and then spokes on the other side that are away from you. So you want to start with the spokes that are close to you and put your first tyre lever in and hook it onto that spoke. You then go to the next tyre lever on the next spoke closest to you, hook it under. So again, if I try and show you, just really hook it under. It can be tricky. Don't be disheartened. And again, that's where using different kinds of tyre levers, you can find which ones you feel most comfortable with. Different tyres and different types of bike. So this is from a hybrid bike. This is quite easy to get off. A mountain bike, again, can be fairly easy. That's a bigger, chunkier tyre. If you're working with a road bike, where you've got that really narrow tyre and quite small, that's going to be far harder to get off. So I've got 2 tyre levers in place. I'm going to put the third in. Now this is why we use 3. So often people will just go and put 2 in, and oh, there we go, there's one coming out. And it's still quite hard. If I was trying to get the rest of that tyre off the rim, it would actually be forcing it and I could damage the bead. This section here is called the bead of the tyre. I could either damage the bead or damage the rim itself. So if I can find my tyre lever, which is fallen on the floor. So what we do is we just quite simply, we use 3. And then when you put the third one in, your second one pops out and actually you're away. You've now got a nice amount of tyre off, and you just loosen it up like that. Just run your hand round and there you are. And then you can now take your inner tube out and you can just pull the other half of the tyre off. So we take that out. So now to put it back together, what you need to be aware of is that tyres, especially tyres like this that have got some kind of novels on and so on, a bit of grip on them, so anything other than a super smooth road tyre, they are going to have a direction on them. And again, that will be one of these raised markings that aren't always that easy to find, but that will tell you which way round, and it's normally a little arrow. So it's really, really indistinct on this one. I don't know if you can make it out. You see it says rotation there, and it's got a little arrow there. So it's really tricky to find, but it's important because that's the way that the tyre and the tread is designed to grip the best. So making sure that you've got your rotation the right way, you then, to put it back on, I put the tyre, the wheel, the rim inside, and then fit one side of the tyre first. So this is actually easier done off the table. This is where I haven't got my glamorous assistant today. So, and we're just going to roll that on. Can you see I'm using my hands to push it over and just bend it in place. As long as some people talk about using the tyre levers to get a tyre back on, I really, really would avoid it if you possibly can, because it can, again, you stand the risk of damaging the rim, damaging the tyre bead. So we've got the tyre on one side. Now I'm going to put the valve in. Again, there are some people who say that you have to line up your valve with the logo on the tyre and so on. It's entirely up to you. It doesn't make a difference. If I was going to do it, I probably would line it up with the PSI, the information that tells you how much to pump your tyre up to. That is a good place to have it, but it's totally personal preference. The thing to do though is to make sure you do have some air in your inner tube so that when you put it in, it's not going to get twisted, it's not going to pinch in place. Then we start from up here, start at the valve and just push it in. If you're struggling, pinch your tyre and your inner tube and make sure they're in the middle of the rim. But what you want to make sure you're doing is going evenly round the rim so that you're coming symmetrically round at the same time, and then just as I was before, see if you can see, just bending that over and it sits in place, and then you're ready to just pump it up and off you go. Cheers.